recorded. Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. This morning, I am really excited to be with a really special guest here today to talk to you guys about her experience in the Anti-Arthritis Method program, because I know that it's one thing to hear it from me and to hear me talk about the program and how it might help you, but it's another thing to actually hear it from a real person, somebody who has been through the process and can speak to it herself. So today we have Melanie. She is one of my amazing clients in the Anti-Arthritis Method, and she has gone on to be an alumni member in the group as well, to stay on and continue, consulting with the group and have that support and that camaraderie. So I'm so thankful to you, Melanie, for being here today, because I think what you have to say is so beneficial in terms of your story and your experience. So thank you so much for coming here today and for sharing this with the group, because I know that a lot of people can really benefit from what you have to share. And I think it will give a lot of people some encouragement and hope. So I'm really glad that you're here today. So today,
sorry.
Go ahead, Melanie.
I was just going to say, I'm excited to be here too. And it's just, through you just continuing to share this program on social media. I mean, that's how I found you. And I would encourage anybody to look for you out there, because there's a lot of information that you've shared already.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So we're just going to go through a series of questions today here, Melanie, so that you can talk about your experience in the program and give people a sense of, what it's like, kind of where you were at before and how things are going for you now. So Melanie, can you tell me, a few months ago before you joined the program, what kind of challenges were you experiencing with your health and your arthritis? Like, what was going on for you?
So, I guess I suffered with rheumatoid arthritis for about 5 years.
Oh,
just about 4.
Oh, sorry, Melanie. Could you just start? You just froze there for a sec. You just said you started about 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, and just give me one. Can I just have 1 second?
Absolutely.
Before you start, just give me 1 second. Okay, I got the TV shut off now. We should be good to go.
Awesome.
So just start with 5 years ago?
Yeah, so if you could just go back, Melanie, and tell us where you were before you started the program, and what were you experiencing in terms of your arthritis and your health at that time?
Right. So I had suffered with rheumatoid arthritis for about 5 years before it was actually diagnosed. And it was really showing up in my feet. I was having trouble walking. I was having extreme pain. And so many people just walked past it, right? They couldn't understand. I went to naturopaths. I went to my medical doctor. And I finally got a referral to a rheumatologist. And within half an hour, he diagnosed that I've been dealing with untreated rheumatoid arthritis for about 5 years. So since then, I've been on methotrexate, I've been on hydrochloroquine, and saw like immediate results. However, it didn't cure anything. It helped my feet so I could walk easier, but then the flare started showing up in my shoulders and my elbows and my knees. And that's where I was flaring like 4 or 5 times a week. And it's something that I think he called it palindromic arthritis, where it would bounce, right? If I got it in my left knee, then I get it in my right knee 2 days later, or, wherever it was showing up, then it just mirrored it. And it was frustrating because I was seeing a little bit of improvement and yet not nearly enough to really be able to have a quality of life. So, exercising started getting a lot more difficult. And then when you're not exercising, you're not moving, and it just compounds the problems, right? So that's kind of where I was at back then.
Yeah, and I hear this a lot, and I think it's really a scary experience for so many people when you're taking the medication, and sometimes that's posed as like the only option you have to get this to be manageable. And when it's not working, as well as it should be, when you have some results, but not enough to have that quality of life. And just having those unpredictable flare-ups, like you're saying, kind of bouncing back and forth between different joints and just kind of not knowing what to expect. I think that I know for myself that I found that really scary at times. And Melanie, besides the medication that you were taking, was there anything else that you had tried in order to get your arthritis under control? Like you had mentioned a naturopath, anything else, or any other practitioners or techniques or diets or anything that you were trying at the time to try to get things under control?
Yeah, for sure. So not really any other practitioners. Once I found my rheumatologist, between him and my medical doctor, I just kind of went with that. But I did try, he recommended trying the Mediterranean diet, which I really actually quite enjoyed. However, now being through this program, I realized how much of those foods were actually contributing to more flares and not less, right? So I did feel better for a little while. And of course, lots of exercise, because my doctor's recommendation was just eat healthier and get more exercise and you're bound to feel better. And, you know, it just wasn't true. I would have little spurts of maybe feeling better, and then the flares would hit me again. And then I couldn't go for my walks. I couldn't exercise the way I wanted to. And yeah, really, it just was a disappointing experience because nothing really gave me any results.
Yeah. And that is super frustrating. And I think that, you know, the Mediterranean diet, which is, you know, a generally healthy diet for a lot of people in, you know, in a general sense, is a good thing. But when it comes to arthritis, we have different needs in terms of our diets. And unfortunately, our doctors aren't going to tell us that. And so, like, I've had clients who, I had one client in particular who was using the Mediterranean diet for 15 years. And she said, she's like, it didn't work, but that's what my doctor told me to do. So that's, you know, what I tried. And like I said, it's something that you need it's very specific. You need a very specific nutrition protocol for arthritis that we tweak along the way. So yeah, that can be really, really frustrating. And when I know, Melanie, you found me, it's just been over 3 months now that we've been working together. And I'm curious, what hesitations did you have before joining the program? Because I know that, you know, I'm somebody that's on the internet. You saw me on Facebook, and I think that's natural to have some hesitations. I know we had talked, I think the previous year, and it wasn't the right time at that time for you. And then we talked again when it was the right time. So can you tell me a bit about some of those apprehensions or hesitations that you were having before you joined the program?
Sure. Yeah, I can. I guess it all started really about 30 years ago. I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis, and I had done some reading way back then about something called leaky gut. And I could not find any real information about it. I did talk to my doctor about it then, and that was, you know, not positive. And so I just kind of, you know, just kind of went away. And then when I saw you on Instagram, that was one of the things that you were talking about, was the challenges with arthritis. And, you know, are you happy with the treatment that you're doing? And then you talked about leaky gut. And of course, that just pricked my ears up, because it was really the first time that I had seen somebody with some credentials talk about it. And so I started following you then. And some of the apprehensions that I had were not even so much about you or the program, was more about myself. And, you know, like maybe a few people are like me, where I get all excited and I'm going to try something and it's going to change my life. And then I'm the one who just gives up on the program halfway through. So that was probably the biggest thing, right? Was I ready to commit to a program and really give it 110% to see it through and give the program a chance to work? Because it's something that I've learned in my life. It's often, you know, the programs work if I do.
Yeah.
So, you know, probably for me, that was it. And it just wasn't the right time back, you know, last September, I think, when we connected the first time. And then we had a family member pass away over the holidays. And, you know, with that comes a lot of stress. And I find that stress management in my arthritis journey is super important. And as that, you know, as we worked through that situation, I found that my flares were getting more intense. and a little more frequent again. And I was just like, you know what, this is crazy. I just don't want to live out the rest of my life feeling like this. You know, I mean, I'm getting up there on the ladder, but I still got, you know, very young at heart and lots of things that I want to accomplish in my life yet. And I thought, you know, this is just dragging me down. And yeah, so some of the hesitations, I guess, were really just more in myself. Would I actually commit to the program? And yeah. And then, you know, you have a great way of explaining the program, you know, having that phone call with you and just really feeling like I was being heard. Because with my medical doctors, I haven't always felt that. It's kind of like, oh, no big deal, right?
Yeah.
And that's been frustrating too, because it is a very big deal when you're having a flare and you can't move and you can't do whatever it was that you were planning to do that day. It is a big deal. So yeah, just really felt heard by you, and yeah, just couldn't say enough good things about this program.
Oh, you're so kind, Melanie. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I'm so glad that you've had a good experience in the program. I know it hasn't always been a perfect, smooth sailing linear process. So I'm curious to know, what is the first thing that you noticed about the program that helped you?
So I think often when I start something new that I'm unfamiliar with, until I can really kind of understand it, I just don't get it, if that makes sense. And the way that you have the program set up, for me anyways, for the type of person I am, was just so beneficial, because it was like, here's the protocol. This is what you can expect. These are some of the things that you might experience. And it was just like you just kind of laid it all out for me, and I could really get a grasp on what I was entering into. And I think initially that was one of the first things that really stood out to me, because I could print off, you know, kind of like ABC directions, right? And yeah, that was probably the very first thing that stood out to me that really got me going and feeling positive and secure about moving forward, because I felt like I understood what I was doing.
Good. Yeah, I think that's so important, because I feel that when I do have these phone calls with like prospective clients, I find a lot of you're just at this point where you're so tired from trying to do all your own research, and there's so much conflicting information, and, you know, trying to put together plans of your own and taking little bits here and little bits there. And it's exhausting, you know, when you're already not feeling well, and then you're trying to figure this out on your own and trying to come up with a plan. And I just feel like having that very clear direction is really helpful. I know it is for me. I like to have an instruction manual. You know, whenever I ask for help from someone, I want step by step. And so that's what I really, you know, aim to achieve with you guys in the program, so that you really understand why you're doing what you're doing, and that you have like a really clear plan. It's super important to me. And, you know, what stood out for you, Melanie, about the anti-arthritis method that's, you know, maybe different from some of the other things that you've tried or read about or heard about on the internet?
I guess a very detailed food planning, right, was one of the challenges that I had in the beginning, was just understanding how important food prep was, and very specific, like, this is what you should eat, this is what you could eat, and this is what you should really stay away from. So that was super helpful for me. The Tuesday night calls, I think, has number one taken me from just doing, you know, kind of a mediocre job at being committed to the program, to really taking it over the top for me. You know, you've got people in there from all stages of the program, brand new people to people who've been there for a year, to somebody like me who's just kind of finished the initial part of the program. And there's so much value in that, right? It's such a positive, supportive community. But I learned so much from you and from the other participants. Like, it's amazing. The education that comes through that call, I just love them.
I love that. I'm so glad you enjoy that. And I always say my clients are the best. We always have such a good time on those calls.
Yeah,
you know, I feel like this topic, of course, can be really sad, you know, and kind of doom and gloom. And I think that it's so important that we can get together and, talk about our wins and get support for the struggles, but then also have a few laughs too. I feel like everyone seems to have a good sense of humor and gets along, and we really, I think, benefit from each other. So I think that, that's a great feedback. And in terms of your success, Melanie, because I know you've come a really long way in the last few months, what is some of the results that you've achieved that you're most proud of?
Oh boy. I guess number one, just making a commitment to the program and to my health and actually following through with it. Like, I got through those first 35 days of absolutely sticking to that part of the program, right? And just eating exactly what I should be eating to help myself, and then seeing all of the rewards of that. So yeah, it hasn't been linear by any means. I had out of that first 60 days, I had probably, I don't know, maybe 4 flares in total, and 2 of them were pretty significant. But where before I started the program, I might have been flaring 4 times a week, every week. So to me, to have 4 in a couple of months is like virtually nothing. And, some of the other things that I noticed that, oftentimes, for me anyways, I get into a pattern of living and then I just don't even realize that things are either getting better or worse. But because this is such a condensed program, I noticed that there was a lot more energy. I just felt good, right? The food that I was eating, I didn't feel bloated or stuffed or, that kind of thing. I just felt good. And my energy just went through the roof. And that was just wonderful, because I don't think I even realized how much my energy had been jeopardized through, the last year or so, right? With all these extra flares. Yeah, just feeling better, getting out and walking again, and just not even really being worried about it anymore. Just knowing that, I'm planning to do this tomorrow and expecting that I'm going to feel good to do it, which was really wonderful too. Something else that I noticed that I didn't realize I was struggling with so much was just brain fog. Right? It was just like my lack of concentration and that sort of thing. And that's really improved. So, physically, there's been a lot of improvements, but also some things like that I didn't even realize were really causing me some problems.
Yeah, it's amazing how when we've been dealing with like a symptom for so long that we don't even really notice it's there. It's just that we're always kind of feeling at that level of yuck, with that like low energy and the brain fog. It's kind of like that, pushing through all the time and just doing what you have to do. But it's like that slog to kind of get through it. And it is pretty incredible when you actually start feeling better and that energy goes up and the brain fog lifts. It's like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize how bad I was feeling until that lifted. So I think that's huge, because that fatigue and that brain fog is so common when it comes to having arthritis. So I love that was a really noticeable improvement for you. And I know, like we were talking earlier, and you're saying like sometimes it's hard to think back on how things used to be because it's so different now. But can you tell us a bit, Melanie, like what does your life look like? What does that look like now compared to, a few months ago? Like what's changed for you?
A lot of things, actually. I'm feeling much more excited about my future, which is a gift all on its own. Right. And I don't think that I was feeling pessimistic before, but it was just like, oh, I hope I'm feeling good on Saturday because I have these plans and I really don't want to cancel again, because there have been many times when I planned to do something and I just haven't physically felt up to it. So that's been a huge change for me, because like I said earlier, I expect to feel good now. And, the reintroduction phase of this protocol was pretty interesting for me, because I went from thinking this was a 30-day elimination program to just being able to do what I always did before, right? And then it came to me, and gratefully, that this was actually changing how I was going to approach my life. And rather than just thinking about food from a place of, favorites or with my palate, I was really starting to understand how food affects my body. and my overall health. And that has been a huge mind shift for me. And I'm just forever grateful for that because, you know, over all the years, I've eaten healthy. I probably haven't eaten as healthy as I could have at different times. But this has just really shifted my perspective on what I'm actually doing to my body. And the results that I've received have been so great. And I feel so much better that I find I'm very protective of that now. So even, you know, as I'm introducing things, it's like, okay, is this something that I feel is going to really add to my overall well-being? And if not, then I'm just as happy to stay away from it for now. So that's been a huge gift.
That's awesome. I love that mindset, you know, just looking at it completely differently and having that mindset change. That's really, like, I think helped keep you going throughout the process, and it's going to continue to keep you going as you continue to integrate this into your lifestyle as you go. Yeah, no, that's so amazing, Melanie. I love everything that you have to share. It's so insightful, and I think it's going to help so many people. I don't have any more questions for you unless there is anything else that I didn't ask that you wanted to share about the program.
Not really. I mean, if I had any last words for anybody who was watching, it would just be just go inside, right? And decide for yourself if now is the time. If you're tired of how your life has been, then take a chance on believing in yourself and know that you can do it. You know, last night we were on the call and one of the gals shared that, you know, there was a food that she wanted to bring back in, and twice she had an issue with it. And she's like, well, I guess I just can't. And I said to her, and I thought to myself, no, you just can't right now, right? Anything is possible moving forward. And that's one of the gifts of this program, is to realize in such a short amount of time, you can really change how your future is going to look. We're just coming into summer. And I'm excited to be outside and being able to do some of the things that I want to do. So, you know, it takes a little bit of just decision making, I guess, and deciding if you're at that point where you really want to see change. But if you are, this is the program, 100%.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Melanie, for coming on here today and sharing your experience and your feedback about the program. I so appreciate it. And I know that so many people who are watching and listening are going to benefit so much from this. You know, if not to join the program, but to give people hope and encouragement that they can feel better, you know, they can feel more optimistic about their future and their health. And I think that that's invaluable. So thank you so much for coming here today. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I get to see you again on our next call. So
Perfect. Thanks, awesome. Jessica.
Bye, everybody.